Hi, and welcome to PHQ, Questions from the Personality Hacker Community. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And let's get right to our question this week.
My question is, how do we exercise our inner 10-year-old in play? My inner 10-year-old is efficiency, and I'm not clear how to engage it in play so it doesn't come out as defensiveness. Thanks very much.
Hey, thanks for the question. So our nickname for extroverted thinking is effectiveness. And so if that's your 10-year-old process, then that would make you an EFP in the Myers-Briggs system. And we talk a lot about like our very, I'm going to say the most basic recommendation we give to people is to engage their 10-year-old, or what's technically called their tertiary process, in play as an antidote for using it in defense or for defensiveness. And when we say defensiveness, what we really mean is the world is trying to give you a piece of information. It doesn't necessarily have to be an argument with another human being. It could just be that the world is trying to give you a piece of information that you don't want to hear, or you're not ready to hear, or you just don't, it'll get you out of your comfort zone, and so you're pushing it away. And so you go to your 10-year-old in order to defend yourself against whatever that is. But that's the most basic advice we give on it, because the 10-year-old or tertiary process shows up in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different healthy ways other than just play. We also recommend that people use it for creating intimacy. We recommend people use it as a motivational technique to add to, the whatever is their co-pilot process. Their 10-year-old process is also going to be a big part of what motivates them and gets them going. Your 10-year-old process will show up as a helping hand for your driver and co-pilot a lot. So your tertiary or 10-year-old process doesn't just show up in play. It shows up in a lot of different, very healthy ways. But if you're defensive, it means that your 10-year-old needs to occupy itself, right, as you try to get back into the co-pilot process. So a lot of times what we do is we just kind of throw the 10-year-old a bone. Like we say, okay, go do this thing instead, and go get some rest and relaxation, get some play, stop, just kind of calm down for a moment. And then once you're calm, then we can go back into the driver and co-pilot to figure out what we're going to do in this situation, or to idea generate, or to, actually come up with a plan or a solution. And so it's kind of like in a family dynamic. If you've got a 10-year-old, I have a 10-year-old stepson, you have a 10-year-old, Joel. And when the 10-year-old is freaking out, like, they're going to be heard, and they're going to require everybody stop everything they're doing. And so we have to stop, we have to, go discipline, or we need to hold space for or talk to, our 10-year-old son. And once he's feeling better, then we, get back into the groove of life. So effectiveness, actually, this is probably something that you should be talking about, Joel, since you are also an effectiveness 10-year-old.
Yeah, well, thanks for throwing it over to me. No, that's good. So I guess what the principle here would be if you want to engage your tertiary in play, what would someone at the age of 10 that had this as their dominant or their driver process be doing, in a sense, like principle-wise? So, I think in my terms, I'm also an EFP, and my 10-year-old process is effectiveness, extroverted thinking. I find myself, when I'm wanting to engage this in a playful way, I love American football, for example. I love watching American football in a relaxing, playful time period to watch the strategy. I like playing video games around football, and I like playing video games around strategy, like SimCity, for example, or something like Civilization, something where I can engage structure and building something in the outside world where the stakes aren't very high. It's just a game I'm watching, whether it's football or I'm playing a video game. I can engage this process playfully to keep it occupied, to keep it happy in that playful manner. And I would guess that, someone that leads with this process at that age around 10 would do other things, maybe, as a child, using blocks and other things like this, and building little pieces of like Legos, et cetera, et cetera. My son is 8 right now. He leads with that same effectiveness process. Sawyer does. And I see him doing a lot of building and construction in his room. He's creative about how he builds things. And I can see that already emerging at his young age. It's going to get more and more sophisticated as he gets older. But, mine's about 10 years old. So I love right now coming in and playing with him. We build Legos together, Lincoln Logs together, and do all these things. But I simulate a lot of that on my own time with video games or watching football, for example.
Yeah, I think that's a really good principle. If you look at what a person that has that function as a driver, a dominant process, what are the kinds of things they did at 10 years old? And then do that. and the stakes not being high is really important. One of the biggest challenges that we have as with our driver and co-pilot is that, or not biggest challenges, one of the things that just sort of defines adulthood is that we bring our skills and tools to things that do have higher stakes, like our livelihood. Don't engage your 10-year-old process in anything that has to do with something that's high stakes. That's why when we use it in a defensive way, it is not a very good voice to listen to, because it just doesn't have the sophistication level to be able to guide us at the high stakes level. So we need to make sure when we're utilizing our 10-year-old, even if it's in a positive way that isn't play, even when it's just an extra added source of wisdom, that we don't put all that, sort of all that strain on it or all that responsibility on the 10-year-old to guide us through something that it's just not equipped to deal with.
The burden of adulthood.
Yeah.
You don't want to put that on your 10-year-old. You wouldn't want to do that with your child. So why would you do that with yourself?
Yeah, exactly. But of course, it is something that needs to be engaged. It's an active and a very conscious and very important part of who you are. So, like for me, I'm an ENTP. I use extroverted feeling or harmony. And some of the ways that I engage it in play is that, I really enjoy connecting with other people. I love hanging out with people. I love laughing with people. That's a really big piece of who I am. I also enjoy doing things like, here's like a great example of you and I being quote unquote kids in candy stores. Anywhere I'm near a Bed Bath & Beyond, my extroverted feeling or harmony 10-year-old gets really excited. And anytime we're near a Staples,
office supply store.
Right, office supply store, your extroverted thinking or effectiveness 10-year-old gets really excited. So,
just walking through the halls and looking at the markers and pens and all the different office supplies gets me excited. Same thing for you with the Bed Bath & Beyond stuff.
Yeah, totally. Now, of course, this might have something to do with their gender, but my dad's an ESTP, and I remember him loving to go into places like Bed Bath & Beyond and look for cool new things for the house and stuff. So, think of it on that level. Think of it as an exciting thing, a novel thing, it doesn't have to be novel. If you're an INP, an introverted sensing or memories, your 10-year-old, then it's not going to be about novelty. It's going to be about rest and relaxation and comfort. It's going to be maybe getting set up with a good book and a cup of tea, or something that is very comforting to you and wrapping up in a blanket. Or it could just be something that you've done a million times, hanging out with friends that you've hung out with a million times before and doing the same, maybe watching the same movie you've seen, or whatever it is for you that makes you feel relaxed. You're trying to pivot away from it being anxious in a defensive position, and you're trying to occupy it by doing something that's relaxing and getting it out of the anxiety producing level. And the reason why it's anxious, again, is because when it's defensive, your driver process is calling upon it to help deal with a mature adult situation that it is not equipped for. So instead of keeping it in that situation, just give it a moment to relax and remember that it's 10, and remember you're not going to call on it for that purpose. And then after you have that rest and relaxation time period, now the driver can call on the actual adult ally in this situation, and go to the co-pilot process. So that's why we say engage the 10-year-old in times of play. And that will be unique to you. Joel talked about American football, but you might be an EFP that doesn't give two craps about American football. It's going to be whatever is the effectiveness process brought down to a 10-year-old level in your life. And the reason why I'm not giving very specific activities is because you're probably already doing this anyway. It's going to be unique to you, a unique expression of that 10-year-old to you, and you're probably already doing it. Just identify it. Look at the things you already do when you're playing and go, oh yeah, that probably is my 10-year-old at play. And then once you identify that, now instead of just doing it sort of naturally and organically, in moments of defensiveness, in moments of stress, do that thing again until you feel better, and then come back refreshed.
Thanks for the question. If you have a question, head over to personalityhacker.com/questions. You can record your question. We can play it live on the air, or you can type your question in and we can read it and then answer it that way. Also, join our community of like minds over at facebook.com/personalityhacker or twitter.com/personalityhack. Love to see you there and engaged as well. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
This has been PHQ Questions from the Personality Hacker community. We'll talk with you on the next episode.